Okay, I gotta record this in real time, whether if it's a shitty quality or not, but this is gonna be a very important video and I am done delaying anything that would not show me as who I truly am. And this is exactly what my audience needs to see at one point, as soon as they're like ready to meet themselves at that level. This has always been like, this is not pre-planned, this is just coming out of me, but I've done these talks so many times and I never recorded them, which I'm not happy about, but it was what it was, so I'm not blaming myself at all. If you're at a point where you were like, no, I'm so done hiding myself, my truth, my power, my whatever makes me me, what makes me unique, you will come to a point where this is gonna be so loud inside yourself, where you're gonna be so done with delaying, watering down, playing wishy-washy, accepting like people that are on the same behavior because you have like invested in yourself, you've been doing all the work, you have been like crawling out of the mud anytime, and now it's just like it's go time, it's action time, you cannot wait any longer. And this already, while I'm talking about, feels so good and so liberating to me, which is absolutely the most important thing, that you feel liberated, that you are that free, and just alive being that you are meant to be, because this is what you've been created for by nature. So whatever you believe in, whatever kind of faith you have, for me, like my guides is like my really all over guide before it comes even to something where I would say, could there be a God? What kind of God would it be? Is it like, it is for me, it is nature, because we are created by nature, we are art pieces of nature. This is what I truly believe in. This is what I've experienced over the last years, over and over and over again. And I want you to lean into that, because this is such an important thing to feel, where like your roots are, where you, and I don't mean like socially or anything like that, is really, you have this physical body that is made and created out of anything else like around you that is an alive breathing being, or whatever, like the tiniest smallest creature that is existing. This is the same thing that you are made out of, and you got to remind yourself of that. And this is where all of the aliveness lies. This is where all of the creativity lies. This is where all of your power lies to change your life around in the best way possible, how it fits for you. And like, if you're like one of my wild ones, where you'll be like, I've always had these big dreams, but then I like had an environment that was never supportive, that was never encouraging, that was even like shrinking you down, whether they were like aware of that or not. Okay, so I don't know your situation. Subconsciously there is an awareness. This is what I believe, this is what I also experience, but it's most of the time it's not conscious. Even if you're like, have been being around a lot of people that haven't like invested the same amount of work into themselves, and like, it is so easy to say, you just like, just go for it, and you make it look like easy, but I know that none of your path to go where you're now today has been easy for you, even if it's not visible on the outside, but it just doesn't feel like it. And I want you to really lean into that and feel like that you have always been the strong one, that you have been always carrying all of the shits that no one saw, like the behind the scenes, like really behind the curtain thing, where everyone else is just always coming to advice for you. Like, you could be also somebody who, even like when you were smaller, even adults were coming to advice for you, because you have like just the ability to see things differently from a different perspective. And whatever it was for you, like the story that I was living in, I've always felt I had to lock parts of myself away. For me was always the creative side, and I know it's the same for a lot of you too, where you'd be like, I'm having like already proof, like a lot of people have been telling me like, yeah, I'm having like done deal, like ready to ready to publish written books at home, but I'm scared to do it. Like, what would people think? I'm having like a build-up career. I'm in my 30s now. I think I'm too old, and all of the shit that comes up where you feel like you cannot make this transition, you cannot make this change for yourself anymore. And because it's too late or whatever your beautiful brain is bullshitting you into. These are all just thoughts that you gotta manage to not stick to them, because it's really anything you create is dependent on the story of your mind that you're telling yourself. Anything you will achieve or you will not achieve is dependent on the story you tell yourself. It is really about the story if you will make it, if you will get to be this successful person you already know that is inside of you. Whether you will become the artist you always envisioned you as a kid to stand on stages and like being like celebrated by masses for whatever kind of art it is, okay? So I'm not just telling you because I've read books or observed things, because this is also my story where I was even like, yeah, it's just, I mean, come on, it's a dream. Yeah, you have so much to give. Like, you're already coming from a career that you can build on, but yet all of that is true and you can still like go for that, but why shouldn't it be on top of that possible to have all these other things? Because like internally, like my body always knew like I get to have it all. I get to have the career, the success, the money, a luxurious lifestyle that is just like what I always wanted to have, because I've always been attracted to it. And I had to work through all of that, like not being ashamed of that. I got bullied in school for always having like beautiful things like clothes and style and whatever. It's just how it was. Would I buy into that story and be like, well, probably people saw that and now I'm just like not meant to have it? No. And you're already somebody who again like has invested in themselves and be like, no, I want to get rid of all of that shit. But there is still something where you feel like this feels so scary to me because it's so personal to you and because it represents like this big thing, this big dream. It could be one thing. Probably most of what I know and see, and when I talk to people, there's like one priority at a time. It doesn't mean that there cannot be more extending like throughout your life, but it comes in layers. But there's always been like one thing. For some of you it's dancing, for some of you it's been like you're hiding behind turntables while you're secretly wanting to be an actor or an actress, okay? But you are afraid to make these steps because it would also mean that you would have to show off more of who you truly are, not the hidden version, not the watered down version, not the one that was pleasing to fit in, not the one that is searching for the own identity, but you already know, like it would require you to stand vast for who you truly are and show up like that, and this is fucking vulnerable. And I gotta tell you, like, reflecting back on the situation that I came from, I always thought that I knew who I was, but still on the outside I was not creating from my like most authentic version, because I found myself like in a life where I'd be like, I didn't even want to have that. Why am I living like things that I don't want? And then like all the purpose searching like went down into a whole rabbit hole, and like understanding myself, what everybody else could see in me, where I was just so blind for it. It was like, why are always these people like so interested and like coming for advice? And I wanted to know who I am without all of these outside influences. So I've been grabbing onto so many different tools, and this is like the whole adventure of like getting educated in new areas, like quitting a job that was never fulfilling, that was soul sucking, that had no purpose, that was barely like paying like the bills, like nothing to do with luxurious lifestyle, where I was always like, gotta be like, okay, I love just, I just love expensive, curated, well thought through, purposeful things that also support nature, that are not like damaging or hurting, that are like just, that are created out of a place of purpose. And somebody really was like, okay, I know what I put into, and I'm absolutely thrilled to pay for something like that, because I know also what it takes to put all of that work in, and what it takes to put yourself out there. And it can feel like you're standing out there naked in front of the world, and even that would not feel like as exposing. But if you're putting your soul and your meaning and something in there where you'd be like, I think people can see me on a deeper level through that, that's the real thing. You're delaying it. Okay, that is the real thing you're coming from, where you'd be like, okay, this is dangerous, it doesn't feel safe to me opening up, and this is the exact thing you have to go for. Like me putting my audio poetries out, which was one of the most, it felt so dangerous to me, and you can still get it in my online shop. It's just one of my first ever recorded art pieces that I'm so fucking proud of, but it also is very, very honest. And it felt so unfamiliar to express things like that in that way. But it also, this is why I was always like hesitant to say something like that. I was holding back. That is like the whole point of holding back your truth. So it is recorded there. It is basically accessible for the whole world, but you got to pay for it, because I've done work, okay, to get there. And this is what I want for you too. So not that you're like always feeling you have to give anything away just for free and stuff like that. That is not where it's supposed to be, and I really don't like where all of that is going. But that's also why we have to shift things like that, that especially like people that do creative stuff, that become artists, that really want to follow through on that. I gotta tell you, if you see it in an overall like picture, eagle eye view, this world is in so much struggle, pain, and turbulence right now. And what is it really? Like, what are people going for if things get tough? Whether it's belief, like you go to a place or something where you can like come back to a place that re-energizes you, that gives you a feeling of being held, and where you just can like lean into the beliefs and your faith and whatever. So whether it's that or it is art, and I'm here for that side too. It is like, you always lean into art. If you're in a spot where you feel like, I don't know how to get out of there, you will surround yourself with something that lifts you up. Whether it's music, you are processing all of your things and emotions in your pictures, in your paintings, in whatever it is. And it all boils really down to all of my wild ones that be like, this would feel so exposing to me because I feel like I've put my soul in there. This is what we need from you. And this is where I'm like going forward and be like, no, you have to tell yourself another story. Otherwise, you will not put all of your heart out there, okay? Doesn't mean that you have to share like anything right at once. It is a process, and it also depends where you're coming from, how much you've like done work on yourself, like all of the inner work. But if you're not managing the inner world to put yourself up so you can say, no, this is who I am, this is what I want to stand for, this is who I want to show up as. Mind you, like I've been working on that, and this is why I'm coming back to, I always thought I knew who I was, and then something very fascinating happened, and I was not prepared for that, because all of it got stripped away from me. And I felt like, what the fuck is going on? Like, where's my confidence gone? Where's my clarity gone? Where is my view for the future? My ability to see things ahead of time gone? Everything was it felt to me like almost overnight. That's what it felt like. The other side, it was like, okay, this is where all my abilities as a also like turbulent childhood, like experienced person kicked in, and gonna be like, okay, we know how to handle chaos, so let's go. This is like nothing we cannot deal with. So I was already equipped not to fall into a state of being like falling victimy or be like, why is this happening to me? And like falling into all of that shit where you probably would hurt yourself even more. But the opposite was happening where I felt like, okay, we'll find a way. It's like, this is what we're knowing. This is what we've always done. If I sound weird, if I'm saying we, sometimes I'm speaking really about we, if it's like me and like my little one, like my 3-4 year old inner child that is still always so present with me because I had to reparent her and like myself to really make her feel safe again. So throughout all of that healing journey, but that's another topic. But really being like, okay, this is the situation we're dealing with and we're gonna find a solution to get out of there. But what is like all of that teaching me? Obviously I have to find something that I was not prepared for. So, and this is where like all of the journey started. Like I wanted to know who I am without all these outside influences. Because again, like I was also creating a life that not really felt like mine. There was no creativity in there. I lost the sense. I was constantly feeling like on autopilot, all of that feeling of like not having the people that really get me and see me, or just rarely, but not on a level that I knew I wanted to be seen by others. And so it was just like the way to work myself back to me. But beautifully, I got like presented with all of the opportunities to get rid of all of the shit that was standing between me, like my truest self, and the version that I was performing in, like for the outside world. Because I always knew there was so much more inside of me. There was more power, there was more creativity. But you're watering down because if you're like, I always say I'm a natural force and I mean every word I say. So I don't say shit just randomly. And this is like, it was always almost kind of a fear to be like, okay, but no one will ever like love me if I'm being the true me. Like, I know it can be intimidating. I will lose everyone because probably they will not be able to handle it. And like, do you see where all of the mind shit is going? I had no proof for that. Not one. To be like, this is absolutely happening if I'm showing up as me. And still, I had to let go of a lot of things, places, people, thoughts, beliefs, like all of the things. It is just what happens when you grow into yourself and be like, no, I want to stand for who I truly am. And it was so interesting because especially online, it did happen. Like when I'm around people in person, it never felt so dangerous. But on the other side, this is why I also got a mentor, a beautiful coach by my side to guide me through that, because you need the support. It is just very exposing, like, because when you're in person, you know how many people are around you. You can easily say, oh, I'm not doing this if I know they're like in a public space where probably like thousands of people can just see you. If you would step up and like giving a speech out of whatever, okay, this is just like, if you would take one of your paintings and get into a very public place, like here in Munich at Marienplatz, let's say, for example, okay, and you would just like put yourself out there with your painting. thousands of people throughout a day could see it, and it would feel like very exposing, because some of them would just walk by not even recognizing, because most of the time everyone's looking at that one right now. So this is also the thing. But it would also be able that people come and see and be like, wow, interesting. Wow, I like it. How, like, tell me more about it. And you will have to expose, you will have to share a bit of your story, because people get interested anyways. And you would have to trust that this will also happen, okay? But this can only be the case if you're putting yourself out there with the things that you feel like, yep, that's what I always wanted. But the wishful thinking and just having the empire ready inside of your mind will not get you the results outside of your little wildness brain, okay? We are still living in a 3D world. We can do a lot of very beautiful things with our mind, or we can limit ourselves until nothing gets done, and you end up as one of these people that regret on their deathbed all the things they didn't do. And I don't want you to experience that. Okay, so if you're attracted to me, you're gonna go for it, but you just need the right support, you need the right people around you, and you need to be your ass kicked from time to time a little bit, with a lot of love and laughter by the side, because we're insane what we're telling ourselves. This is just, and it's the same for me too, okay? This is absolutely the same. And I also, again, had my way work through to that, but how beautiful it is to be able now to be here for you, to teach you how to do it with all the tools that I gained throughout these years, because it took me years, because I did it on every layer, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And like, I did a 360, and I'm always saying, I'm not exaggerating when I'm be like, I burned everything inside of myself down, and be like, what am I gonna do with the ashes? I'm gonna be creating out of a like blank slate, and there's not much that is coming with me like by the old. I wanted a new life, and I stepped into that, and now I'm actively creating that. And I gotta tell you, if you're creating a life on your terms that only fits for you, where you feel like so alive, and you finally get to also meet people that are on that level, because you were courageous enough to get rid of all of the other shit and be like, no, this is who I am, this is what I'm standing for, this is what I want to do. You will get the support, but you also actively have to decide that you want it. And again, I know you're not a lazy person, you have already done a lot of shit, but these things that really be like, I even can feel like my body reacting. This is like not safe. Your stomach gets tight, like your shoulders come down. You're not sitting, standing up straight. You even begin to stutter. You mix up your words. All of the things that also happened to me. And I was even like, I never experienced it. Wait, what the fuck is wrong with me? You gotta trust me on this. This is something where you are being prepared for. You are already in the process of being prepared for. And if you're listening to me, you have been asking for an ignition. You have been asking for, be like, when do I pull the trigger? When is the time that I am like showing up with all of the things that I want, with for who I am, with putting my art out there, whatever it is, or just your unique perspective? Do you know how important it is today? Our governments are failing the people. The systems are not taking care of you. They're doing the opposite. They're making you even more sick. Giving you this false safety, where you feel like you have to give so much of like the vision of your own life and how it could look like, and you gotta escape that. This is basically, I mean, the old systems are already crumbling. We see that everywhere, and especially like 2025. So we're in December now, like beginning December 2025. We have seen so much like crashing, crumbling down of these old systems. If you're into things like astrology, you might know it on a deeper level. I am like always just having an eye on it, and I'm like more of surface level in that area. But I went, like with all of the personal things, to me, I went deep into that. But it is so interesting, like all of the happenings that are taking place, and you're getting into that, you can see it, it's tied together. Okay, there's like, there had been an ancient like um oh, I'm lost for that word now, like the people that have lived way before us, like hundreds of years ago, and they were like always out there on the sea navigating. They were using stars, they were using all of that ancient wisdom. So we still do have all of that available, but we are relying on anything outside of us because we're not trusting that we are capable of making this change, that we are capable of having a vision that could make an impact and could bring something up that is so much greater that you can see right now. And this is something where you have to give yourself the permission and be like, do I want to experience that without knowing how this is all going to look like exactly in the end? Because it is always a stepping into the unknown. And it is always something you cannot like predict how this is going to work for you. But how did it work out for you so far, to staying safe, to asking even others what they think, what could be the one thing? And I was getting mad at myself at one point too, because when I was in that spot and I got so confused and like my brain was just so foggy and I could not think clearly, and then I went into like spiraling and overthinking, and I did not know that about myself. It was such a weird situation, but I've been put there in almost for 2 to, let's say, 3 years properly. It drives you mad, it drives you wild, and I couldn't see what was happening, but I still did what I could do, and I trusted that I will find a path. Because if you cannot see the path, what are you gonna do? You'll create a path. We're not just sitting around waiting. This is not, I know that you're not like that, and I was not like that. But I had to find a way to get myself out of this state and be like, okay, what am I going to do with that? Just sitting and waiting around is not my type of style, that I'm leading my way, never been that. And all of the abilities that I gained as a kid, where I always had to be like so grown up at such a very young age, and was always like very independent, and in my thinking and my behavior, in just doing the things. And then I just went in for it. But how beautiful it is, because I always knew it had to be something very authentic that I want to bring to the world. It could not be more authentic than what I am doing now. Sharing this with you, like encouraging you, giving you the space where you'd be like, okay, it feels so dangerous right now to me to put myself out into the world with ever what you are doing or what you want to present, that I can give you this space where you can train to feel safe within that. And once you're ready, you'll be like, okay, we're gonna pull the trigger. There we are, okay? Because there was one thing that I was recognizing that I wish I would have had throughout all of this experience. And this was like really, because I was in other like containers that supported me, because I always knew, okay, this is gonna be like a business, this is gonna be a company, this is gonna be something bigger than just like me experiencing what I want. But this is my story, okay? So whatever you want to do with it, it doesn't say that you want to have to create a business or a company or whatever out of that. Or you're already running something, but it's in a total different area, and you need like the counterpart to be like, this is very logic, this is like very in another space and like of expertise, and I need something that is so more like playful, creative, whatever. This is the part that I was always missing about myself, again, like I did. then this is so beautiful that I get to create this emotional support container. And when I realized that this was something, if I have had that, like specifically for these steps to make sure that I not constantly doubt myself, that I will stop overthinking if I like am capable of doing this, because internally you already know that you are. You've always known, but there is just something like very human coming your way that you'll be like, maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe I'm really like, if I'm putting that wild idea out there, there's a serious fear that can go on where you'll be like, maybe someone comes and locks me in. This is because you're such a big thinker. This is because your mind is already way ahead of our time, and you want to put it out into something that will help people. And I gotta tell you, I said this sentence once and it came back to me. This is why I always knew it had to be art. Like all of this honesty and stuff like that, where I'll feel like, okay, if you would like spring ahead and like share stuff like that, where you feel like this can be like a whole system that would benefit people. I don't think that the world is ready right now to do that, but you still have the option to put it into art, because in art there is no limitations, there is no restrictions. Think of any person that you always were looking up to, admiring, like your role models, your whatever's. What is that unique thing that they always like were presenting? To me, it was always that truth. It was very honest. It was not holding back with saying anything, expression, voice, all of what comes up like from here, like right spoken out, whether it's spoken, singing, all of the stuff you can do with that beautiful tool that you have. But it also can be books for you. It can be anything. And this is like, I just want you to remember that you can go, if you shift yourself from, because it is something that brings you joy, if you're like programming, like reprogramming yourself into, I'm just going for the joy because it excites me, without any guarantee that this will make an impact to anybody else's life. Again, you don't have to be as mad as I am to be like, my insanity is, but I'm, again, like what I've learned so far, like attracts like, maybe it's for you in another area of your life, but like my insanity to dive into situations that I have no proof for that they are working, but I just be like, no, this sounds exciting, I'm gonna do this. Like I freak many people out with that. And this is why I'm also not sharing it with many at all anymore, because like my level of how I'm handling my life and how I operate and the style I lead myself is like, it's not normal, but it's unconventional. I love it. I've always been like that. And this is just, the difference is I'm not hiding it anymore. That's the whole difference. I'm just not hiding anything of that anymore. Because I came to that point where I'm like, I'm done delaying, I'm done shrinking down, I'm done like holding back my truth. And now that this is recorded, finally, where I also had to let now the other, like where I came to a point when you're like, you're so in your head like all the time by yourself, and then there comes a point where you finally be like, okay, I know it's a point now I have to let others in. Because you're hitting like an invisible wall where you feel like this is a dead end. From now on, I did all the internal work I could do on and to myself on that level on my own, but now it is time to open up. This can even feel way more vulnerable. This is what I'm experiencing right now. But finally, if you then like attract the people that feel safe to you, where you be like, you're feeling this exhale and be like, finally someone gets me. Same what happened with my coach, where I'd be like, oh, finally I don't have the feeling that I need to like shrink myself down, water myself down. And it even tends to happen still because you're not used to it, but you will develop like to being way more open and open up and like be like, no, I was watering it down again and shit like that. It is just, that's human. But you will grow into this version. This is why I'm also like offering all of what I'm doing with you, whether it is like Unleash Live, the 3 weeks to activate that in you, where you be like, really, no, I just forgot like who I really am for a while, for whatever reason. You don't have to unpack that all at once. And again, it depends where you're at on your journey, but you will not like what I'm doing if you haven't done like zero personal growth work on yourself. That is just not what I'm going for. But you've been already investing and you're still be like, I don't know what, I'm not capable of doing this. It could be something so easy. And I'm going to share that story and then I'm going to end that. Because like I was in such a highly wealthy environment in 2024, which again, I took a risk. It was not really making sense, but as long as I feel the pull to do it and I'm like, this sounds very interesting, this sounds fun to me, like, let's go, this is what I did. And when you're in a room with so much like wealthy other people and you see that aliveness, like having a body that is alive and is like ready to move and express itself in the most natural form. This has nothing to do with having something like created ready, like a book or whatever. Like that is the baseline, to be able to step out of yourself, out of your comfort zone without holding back and just being funny, silly, goofy all at one time and just having the time of your life. This is what I've experienced there, but I was in a room like with so many others that were way more wealthy than I was. But this has nothing to do like with money or anything. The majority of the people were not able to move their body freely to music playing. So now you could say, okay, wow, it was maybe not their taste of genre or whatever. You can feel it if people are holding back. Okay, why would you be in and it was one of a kind spot to be in, okay? So you just enjoying this moment and like having this maybe once in a lifetime experience to have something like that happen for you, to set up where you don't have to do anything, just being. It was not possible for the majority of these people. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. And I was like, just fuck, let's go. We're like dancing around and being like just enjoying, like being alive in a situation. And this is the baseline. And if you've been also experiencing something where you'd be like, I did too, in so many spots of my life where I'd be like standing beside a stage and looking up and be like, one day I'm gonna stand up there. I would nail it up there. Well, when is that one day? Is that one day now? If you don't feel ready for it, or is that one day at some day in the future where you are not guaranteed that you get it? When is that? So by me recording this video, putting it online, which is open, accessible to the world's population, let's say to 99% of the world's population these days. That's a stage in of itself, okay? I don't have to stand anywhere physical, but I know that this comes after that. But having the reach and be like, no, this, people need to hear this, people need to see me, and I always knew that, but I still have to do all of the action steps that it is accessible. Don't you think that I'm shitting my pants? Anytime I'm doing stuff like that, I'm shitting my pants. Don't you think that because I'm just like naturally built like that and I make it look easy? No, it's not like that. Sometimes it feels so dangerous to me that I'm gonna be like, okay, no, we're delaying. No, this is exactly the pattern we have to cut through. This is why, this is why Unleashed Live is so special, because there you finally get to feel for the first time that you do not have to hide anything. And this is why I'm doing this in a very private container, like not overloaded with many people, because then I will not be able to stay in integrity with what I wanna like deliver and be of service for the people that are in there for you. But this is also where you finally get to be like, oh, I knew I was not alone. I cannot be the only one. Like, with all the wildness and the craziness and the insanity in my mind and like all these huge big dreams, but you finally get to meet these people where you feel safe to open up about that. Again, you don't have to do this all in one day. This is, no one asks you to do that. You can also just come to these live activations and be like, I'm gonna take what I want for myself. But you can also like let others know, which I really encourage you, what is going on for you, what you're experiencing, and also what is holding you back. Because when you're in spots like that, you meet other wild ones, and you feel like it's just a bunch of joy like coming back around, where you'll be like, oh, there are more like unconventionals like me that don't follow like just a pack. Okay, we are not sheeps, we are wolves in there, and I want you to be the leader, the heart-led like creator, whatever you want to call that for yourself, because I was also never putting myself into a box. This is why I had to do so much research, where I'll be like, no, this feels limiting, no, I cannot do this, no, this is like, you can call me whatever the F you want, okay? But I was not just putting myself out there as a coach because it would not feel true to me. And if it's not true to me, I don't do it. And then I cannot stand for it, because like the level of honesty that I always embodied, but I was always like, why is this not landing? Like, why is it like, there was no reciprocation, okay? But you being then in a spot where you'd be like, well, I needed to hear that, and I appreciate for you for saying that, but being also committed to do your part, like that's a different vibe, okay? And I have that with myself too, because I'm also just human. I mean, we sometimes can come across as like a little bit of non-human, because we're like bad shit in what we're always like doing and accomplishing. And I know you're kind of like the same. Doesn't have to be in the same area of the life, but it's just like we're dedicated, we are devoted, we want to do things, we make things happen, okay? But if there's one thing that is so close to your heart and that feels so like you, and you hesitant to be like, no, I honestly, I know what I want, honestly, I know what I want to do, but it feels so wild and crazy, and this is the exact time to step into my world. We're going into 2026 very soon, and you can still make a difference in 2025. And I'm highly encouraging you to step out of your own way and be like, nope, I'm not doing this, I'm not repeating this another year. And I had to do the work myself, of course, too, because I'm always just teaching you, what I have been living through. Otherwise, it would not feel true to me. So it is at Miss Courage on all the socials. It is on Instagram and TikTok. You're here on YouTube right now. Please share this, save it, comment on under this video. The brand is Courage Studios. You get to be like I'm here now, okay? Like this is happening. I'm building this world. You can like watch how all of that grows, but I want you to be part of it, because I can create a world that is empty, and this is not what I want, but I want it to be a world where you can really be yourself, and where you can outgrow your own shoes and be like, wow, I get to have it all. I can have it all, and I don't lose anything because I'm being who I am. You will just lose if you keep ignoring yourself. That's the final message. I'm so happy to had spent that time with you. I can't wait to see you at one of my programs or wherever our ways will cross. And I love you. Bye.